Well, as the campaign enters its final stretch, high importance is being placed on the Catholic vote, specifically in the crucial swing state of Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania Catholic Conference released numbers in 2020 showing 23% of the population as Catholic. That amounts to more than 3 million people of the state's estimated 13 million citizens. This comes as Republican vice presidential nominee J.D. Vance, a practicing Catholic, wrote a recent article in the Pittsburgh Post Gazette criticizing Vice President Kamala Harris and her record with Catholics. Pennsylvania is a state that President Biden won in 2020 by around 80,000 votes, partially due to his Catholic roots in Scranton. Some experts believe whichever way the Catholic vote leans in this pivotal swing state, it could determine the outcome in this presidential election. Joining us now is Brandon McGinley, Editorial Page Editor for the Pittsburgh Post Gazette. Brandon, great to be with you. I want to talk about the piece that Senator J.D. Vance wrote for your publication, but first, let's talk about Catholic voters in PA and how much weight they carry in this race.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as you said, we're looking at about a quarter or so of the state identifies as Catholic. And traditionally, Catholics in Pennsylvania and around the country are a bellwether. When you look at now, exit polls on these kind of smaller, kind of subgroups can be, a little bit difficult to pin down. But when you look at 2016 and 2020, you see Trump winning just barely among Catholics. And then in 2020, you see Biden winning just barely among Catholics. So where the Catholic vote in Pennsylvania goes will give us a good sense of where the whole state and the whole election will go.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, do you think, the Catholic vote can tip this race in PA? And also, what are the big issues motivating Catholic voters there?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely could. And I think that even just a few percentage points could make a big difference. I think when it comes to the big issues, I mean, there are kind of the classic issues that we think about when it comes to Catholic voters: abortion, other social issues, but also immigration. Over the years, the issues that motivate Catholic voters have somewhat converged with the general population. One thing that I think we're seeing, though, is that the Trump-Vance campaign, both in the piece that we ran today and in other statements that have come out and other pieces that have been published, seems to think that if they can motivate Catholic voters with the idea that that Kamala Harris is actively hostile to the church, that might kind of shake some voters out of complacency.
Yeah, talk to us a little bit more about that article that J.D. Vance wrote for you.
Sure, and it's not my job to vouch for it, but I can say that he represents views that I'm certainly very familiar with among Catholics when it comes to Kamala Harris's history, with regard to, for instance, criticizing a judicial nominee for being a member of the Knights of Columbus. I think there's no question that through her history, Ms. Harris hasn't always been, I would say, hasn't always really understood the importance of Catholics as Catholics when it comes to voters. And I think that the Trump-Vance campaign sees that as an opportunity for them.
Brandon, not a whole lot of time left, but what are you seeing there, on the ground as far as the Catholic vote? Which way are they swaying between the two candidates?
It's hard to say. I mean, you see Catholics for Kamala signs on some homes, and you also see, in neighborhoods that I know of a significant Catholic population, lots of Trump signs. So it's hard to say. I do think, though, that there is a sense among especially mass-going Catholics that as the culture and America's political culture seems to be becoming more and more hostile to them, they may be open to options on the right that they weren't in the past. So it would not shock me if Trump did rather well in the Pittsburgh area among Catholics.
All right, Brandon, thank you so much for coming on. Always appreciate it. God bless.
Thank you. Goodbye.